Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm Sam Anthony, and alongside me is Collin Wilson and Ian Kist. We have a great show for you tonight, starting with the debacle in Oakland, Pitt's coaching change. It's been a rather controversial topic about Jamie DIXON leaving Pitt to go to his alma mater TCU. Was it the right time and was it the right choice?
I don't think it was, Sam. My main concern was that you're leaving a Pitt program that's pretty good in that ACC, but you're leaving for a TCU program that was 10-22 this year and was last in the Big 12, which also includes Kansas and Oklahoma. Now, I don't see where he sees that TCU is this great fit. I understand it's his alma mater, but Pitt is just an overall better choice, in my opinion.
He hit a wall, and I think when he realized he hit that wall at Pitt, I think he realized it's time for a change, and he took his heart. He went with what his heart said. He went to his alma mater. I think a lot of it had to do with him wanting to. That's a thing that college coaches do in college basketball. Coaching for your alma mater is special.
See, I don't think he listened to his heart at all, though. I want you to look at this. They're losing players like James Robinson, who was the best player on their team. They went 12-2 in non-conference, which I get is great, but they beat teams like Maryland Eastern Shore, Morehead State, and Central Arkansas. Meanwhile, you have a team in TCU that I know finished last in the Big 12, but their top three scorers are all sophomores. So you're going to get those players back, and they're going to be better. The only player they're losing averaged 5 points a game and 4 rebounds a game, never made a three.
I think also, though, if you say he didn't go with his heart, then my rebuttal is he went with a team that he knew he could rebuild. The team can't go down.
100%.
They're 8-64 in the Big 12 over the last 4 seasons. That number's going to increase with Coach DIXON, and I think he has the materials that he needs to get that team up in the Big 12.
Now, if Andy TOOLE, head coach for Robert Morris men's basketball, were in this position after an exceptional career at Robert Morris, how do you think he would fare in the ACC?
Right, if he went from the NEC to the ACC next season, he would not fare well at all. You're not going to jump from the NEC to the ACC. He may have what it takes to win games like X's and O's, but he doesn't have what it takes off the court during practices when he's trying to manage and lead his team, because we saw the debacle at the Chuck this year when that team did not have it at all.
But your basis is off of 1 year. I mean, you look at the numbers that he's had and the wins that he's had, these big wins. And think about it, ACC opponents. He's only played 4 ACC opponents. I know he's 0-4, but that's with a team like RMU.
When you're in NEC, you don't get that privilege to play ACC teams.
And they only lost to Clemson 64-57 when they played them.
That
was a good game.
Now, if he's not jumping the ACC now, when is he going to make that jump? Is he still missing a piece in there?
Yeah, he needs to go to a MAC school, like we were talking about, or an A-10 school like Dayton, St. Louis.
Is he ready for that jump?
I think he is.
Oh, 100%.
After this year, you can make an argument that he's not, but I truly think he is. He does, like Sam said, he has that resume.
What does he have to do in an A-10 school maybe to make that jump to an ACC?
Conference titles.
That's conference titles.
And you get into the tournament.
Yeah, conference.
It doesn't matter if you win a game in those
teams,
teams, but you do. You need to get there, because that's what Andy TOOLE did at RMU. You know, after he made it to the tournament last year, everyone was sitting there thinking, this has to happen. We have to make this. He was interviewing with Penn after they beat Kentucky. Siena offered him a job. So, I mean, clearly he's had these options.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave Moon and go back to Oakland. Kevin Stallings was hired as the new Pitt coach. Do you agree with that? And if not, who would you have hired?
All right. See, I really like the hire because the guy's got 23 years of coaching experience, 17 at Vanderbilt. He has 9 NCAA tournament appearances, and he's gotten Vanderbilt ranked as high as 7th in the nation. This year was his best year ever statistically based on strength of schedule and average point differential.
See, I don't like Kevin Stallings. I would have went with a guy named Ed Cooley from Providence. Okay. His career record at Providence was 103-67. Brought them to a 9 seed this year, lost to North Carolina. But I just think that's an overall better fit. It's kind of in that region. Vandy's struggled this year, made the play-in game. But overall, Vandy's not done well in tournaments. Providence isn't that they're kind of that second-tier team, though.
Ed Cooley finished second when I put my list together of coaches they should hire. He finished second. I went with Greg Marshall of Wichita State. I think his time there is done. He's losing Van Pleet. Yeah. And his players that have got him to the tournament, like Ron Baker, that have got him, that he's leaned on to get the Wichita State the #1 seed a few years back in the NCAA tournament, and to get Wichita State back in the grind of regular NCAA appearances. This year they took a step back, but I think that would be his time to move on. But he also argued that he's better than a Pitt.
Yeah, I think he's better than Pitt. I don't think Pitt could get him. If I had to pick someone, I'd pick Jeff Capel III from Duke. He's an associate head coach. He has experience coaching at VCU and at Oklahoma, where he led him to an Elite Eight.
And he's not going to move up anytime soon until Coach K.
Well, Georgia Tech's interviewing him right now, so we lost our opportunity clearly. And it might hurt us because Georgia Tech might be better than us in ACC play. If you look at Pitt and...
We've struggled against them.
Yes. And now I think they'll have the better head coach too. As much as I like Stallings, I think Capel was the obvious choice.
And you're looking at Sheldon Jeter having some awkward moments with him because he went Vanderbilt and he transferred and Stallings blocked the transfer originally.
We'll cut to women's basketball now. They just played Connecticut in the NCAA tournament, and they struggled mightily, but every opponent has. Where do you see that as a success, or do you see that as kind of a breakdown for Robert Morris women's basketball?
I thought it was an embarrassment.
Really?
I did. They were down 39-4 in the first quarter, and clearly after that, UConn just played down to them.
To me, it was respectable. Yes, the score, 49-4, halftime score, you're losing by a ton. But when they played Notre Dame a few years back, who was also 33-0, it was much of the same. It was a 93-42 loss. You can argue that they gave up less points in that game, but we just don't size up to them. It's really not fair. It's really not. We kind of expect it to happen. It's not a fair matchup, and Connecticut, best team in women's history.
I mean, it seemed as if they couldn't even get the ball over half court, though. I mean, that at some
point.
You
were there.
Exactly. At some points,
So
that gets embarrassing, and on the bench, you're sitting there and you're just wondering, when's it going to be over? So in that aspect, I think it could be an embarrassment. You definitely wanted a better competitive game, but you're right. You're playing a Connecticut team that's winning in the tournament this year by an average of 44 points. But overall, I think you have to look at that as kind of embarrassment. You want to be competitive in that game, no matter who your opponent is.
And I want to paint you guys a picture, because I'm sitting in Romo's and I'm watching this game, and it's Accepted Students Day. So there's kids who just got an RMU, and on every TV is RMU getting destroyed.
Yes.
But if they did their research, they knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, but what kid sits there and does the research? I mean, I don't care. I was embarrassed for them.
Now we'll go to the NCAA tournament men's here. The Final Four is set, and with our picks, we're not exactly right, but I don't think anyone is. We have North Carolina, who will take on Syracuse, and then we have Villanova taking on Oklahoma. Buddy Hield has just been phenomenal. How do you guys feel about the tournament so far?
It's simple. It's been madness. I don't know any way to put it. Syracuse, a team that no one expected them to make the tournament after they lost in the second round of the ACC tournament against Pitt by 1 point. They're like, okay, they're out. And they got a 10 seed. Shocked by that. And now they're in the Final Four. So they're doing things right. But I think they're in a roadblock right now. You could say they're in a roadblock all tournament, but now UNC, doesn't look like anybody can really stop UNC at this point.
I mean, hey, anything's possible at this point. I mean, look at our Final Four here. We have Kansas, A&M, UNC, Michigan State. We got one right.
Well, Michigan State, they disappointed everybody.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a whole other story.
I had too much faith in Kansas. They do that every year. They, they play well and then they lose. They did it against Wichita State last season.
I'm just saying.
Typical Kansas stuff.
You can't put any team out of there. Only 0.1% of brackets on ESPN.com had Syracuse going to the Final Four.
Now, out of this Final Four, who do you think is the new champion that we have? We have Michigan State as our old champion. Do you think North Carolina comes out as our only Final Four team as our new champion, or do you see someone like Syracuse has made a run so far?
I think it's going to be Oklahoma, UNC.
Really?
And nail biter, and I've debated it, but I think Oklahoma, Buddy Hield, he's gonna step up his game even more, and Oklahoma's gonna be cutting down.
The only player that scored more through the first 4 games of the tournament than Buddy Hield has is Steph Curry. I mean, those numbers, you cannot argue against that.
That's very true. You're exactly right.
And on that note, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will examine how the AHC tournament failed the RMU men's hockey team, which team the Penguins should play in the first round, and how the Steelers handle a personnel debacle with Martavius Bryant. All coming up next on Sports Talk in the Burgh.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. The men's hockey team lost the AHC final despite being the higher seed. Now the debate has been, because the game was in Rochester and the fact that it was a single elimination format, there's been debate on whether there should be a change. What do you guys think?
I have more of an issue with the single elimination in the semifinals and finals. Playing in Rochester, that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, the AHC may try to change that, but they can argue that it's not on their campus, it's not their home arena. But back to the single game elimination, I don't know how it's fair that you have to play 3-game series to earn your way to Rochester, and then like we saw one bad performance from the goalie can cost you
Do you two believe that RMU was the best team in the conference?
I do, honestly. I mean, whenever you're beating Penn State and Michigan outside of conference and you're running through the conference how they were, then I think you are the best team. And I look at it as how Ian does the single elimination. It's really tough once you get down to those games where it could go vice versa, especially in hockey. So my biggest issue is that the single elimination, kind of like in baseball, how we've come to that conclusion that we don't like the wild card, the one-game wild card. It's not determined. It's determined in the 3-game series. So yeah, I think it should be the same in hockey, but it doesn't get as much attention.
What do you guys think about flopping single-game elimination for the first rounds, semifinal, and finals are 3-game series?
I like that better because, you know, even though RMU did lose to Bentley, if you're really the best team, you should be able to get through those easier teams and then get to the 3-game series.
It may not be the best solution, but that's, when I thought of it, that's the best solution I could think of as until
it
they
makes perfect sense. It really
figure out another way to do it. But and the Big Ten only has 6 teams, and they're the only conference that does single game elimination. And you would think they would do series because they only have 6 teams. I don't know, like, why is the Big Ten special, guys? Like, I don't get it.
Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins are about to start their playoffs here April 12th. What would be the best first-round matchup for them after this season that they've had?
New York Rangers, I think 100%. And you have to look at probable matchups, too, because, you know, there's plenty of teams you'd love to play. But they've played the Rangers 4 times this season. They're 3-1 against them. They haven't lost since their first matchup, February 10th. They're 8-9 on the penalty kill versus New York. And, you know, you have Sidney Crosby, who has been successful this season against the Rangers.
Very true.
If the Flyers bully us, then we're done. But this team, I think that we can bully them, play our game, and I think we'll be successful. We've won 4-3 against the Flyers and 4-1 a week back. Now the Rangers, they look like Penguins have been able to handle them, but the Rangers give us good games. I think the Flyers it won't be much of a nail biter, and I think once we get a 2-0 lead, they'll be on their heels, and I think we can just knock them down.
I disagree, because you look at the Flyers, and they're just like how the Penguins have been, where they've been hot as of recently. The Flyers have, been slowly climbing the standings to the point where they're at a wild card spot now. A lot of people thought that they were going to be out of it, and they're a team that honestly.
So you're going to say they're going to play hard because they fought their way up, so they're not going to.
You have a rookie like Gostisbehere who's been hot. He had that point streak, and you have the consistent players like Giroux, and just the rivalry there. I mean, they're going to play us hard.
And I think it's hard to judge how the Penguins are going to play based off of their season and their struggles and their streakiness right now.
No, I mean, I really agree. I agree with Sam with the Rangers. I think that'd be a better matchup. They've won all 3 games in March by a score, or actually the entire series this year is 12-6 in favor of the Penguins. But I just really think that the Rangers would be a better matchup.
Now from ice to grass, the Steelers in their Martavius Bryant situation, do you agree or disagree how they've handled it?
All right, so I'm going to give you a quote from Mike Tomlin because I love it. It says, "We're going to throw the ball to the open man." I think that's
a
the way
typical Mike Tomlin.
But that's also just the Steelers' philosophy.
I like
that culture.
I like that quote. Yeah.
You know what? Because he's a guy who the Steelers aren't going to wait up for him. They're not going to sit there and go, "All right, we were a team that's favored to win the Super Bowl. Well, now that we lost our second best receiver, we're going to wait till next year."
No, and you've seen ongoing. I'm going to bring Josh Gordon into it. You've seen ongoing issues with him, and this is just a big fiasco with the Cleveland Browns, their rival. Now you have Martavius Bryant and a similar issue with drugs. And it's just turns out to be it's just a distraction. Mike Tomlin, by saying that, is just like, we don't care. We are going to play with the guys who are here and that do what they're supposed to do. And I love that. That's what you should have, and that's why the Pittsburgh Steelers are successful.
Yeah, they need to cut him though, in my opinion, because as long as he's still on that roster, he's going to be a distraction.
It would
all year you're going to sit there and you're going to compare.
But this shows your mental ability to just, okay, he's not going to be in the picture this year. Let's put him aside. Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, don't worry about him. You don't worry about him. He's not going to be in the picture. And I think if they can't do that, they're going to struggle. But you can't tell me they're not. I don't think he's going to be an issue. I don't think his debacles are going to be an issue.
This year. I'm talking about in the future. Like
I personally think he'll be fine.
We saw Johnny Manziel get help. He went to rehab. Martavis Bryant's in rehab, but so what? He goes back. He does the same thing.
He's going to rehab for depression, though, not for substance abuse.
But he still has a substance abuse problem. And if he's not getting that, I don't care if he's depressed. He's still a problem on that team, and it's a business. We need to win.
Yeah, the Steelers definitely don't want this distraction overriding their ball club.
And that's all we have for this segment. Coming up next, after the break, we'll discuss the ups and downs of RMU sports from this year, looking at which teams gave us the biggest surprises, the most disappointment. And with opening day right around the corner, we'll give some bold predictions on how the Pirates will fare this season. All coming up next on Sports Talk in the Burgh.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Cheers. Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Talk in the Burgh. We're going to shift gears back to Robert Morris Athletics with the most surprising team overall this year. Who do you guys have?
I have the women's hockey team, 17-16-5, improvement from 11-19-5 record from last season, and they got past Lindenwood in the first round. They lost to RIT in the first round of the playoffs last season, and they were just enjoying to watch this season. They played hard. They really did make improvements. They lost Vint from last season, who was their star for many years on that team, and a lot of people compare the two hockey teams, but they're both enjoyable to watch this season. But see, that wasn't
a team that was very surprising to me. I expected that kind of success because you had Jessica Dodds.
Really? Because I expected Jessica Dodds not to have the great season she had, and I expected us to maybe have a few more wins, but not 6 more wins than we did.
And, I mean, not to, take away from their playoff wins, but they beat a Lindenwood team that was awful.
But they won.
They won in 3 games. They lost the first game. I mean, they
You can also argue that they could have played a 3-game series with Mercyhurst, and that would have been different than the one-game playoff.
I still think Mercyhurst would have. I mean, because they did not look like
How
they
do
had
you
a
know,
chance in
man?
that game.
Hockey's a funny game.
I mean, you're right. I'll give you that. But it's...
I'm going to go with women's soccer. Now, I think that they had never been to the tournament this year, before this year, and they come out and they have a tremendous season. They get the 3 seed, and they go in NEC tournament, and they just have a great stint, really. I think overall, just Chelsea Day-Auger had a great tenure at Robert Morris, and overall, it was a great year for women's soccer.
I really enjoyed watching the women's soccer team this year. It's a shame they fell short, but they get out there and they really kind of proved as inspiration, but also a team that nobody was really thinking about, and they made it all the way there.
Oh, definitely.
Opposite. Most disappointing RMU season this year. Go.
Oh, that's easy. The men's basketball team. I mean, I want you to look at that record. They were 10-22. They started the season 13-3. They got the last seed in the NEC tournament. I mean, my favorite thing is Rodney Pryor was supposed to step up as a leader, and he totally failed at that, which is ironic because he's an organizational leadership major.
That makes sense. But I'm actually not going to go with the basketball team, most likely the popular pick. I am going to go with the men's hockey team, who probably have one of the most successful years, but they don't make the NCAA tournament. They lose to RTI. You cannot have that. That's just, when you're that high up, you have 9 seniors on that squad. You have to win that single elimination game.
But there's so much more than just the tournament. I know that's huge, don't get me wrong, but they beat teams like UMass Lowell, who's in the tournament, Michigan, who's in the tournament, and Penn State, who could have easily been in the tournament.
My thing is, if you're beating those teams, you should be in that tournament. In this conference, and even in the NEC and other sports, you have teams that their goal is to win the conference, to make the NCAA tournament, not to do well in the NCAA tournament necessarily. You see our basketball teams get 16 seeds and then lose, but in hockey, you have to make that. You have to make that 16-team tournament in order to be named successful, especially if you have that much talent.
Because we won the 3 Rivers Classic. I think that's huge. That's something that people are going to remember.
I agree, but I think overall it's end of the season accolades. End of the season accolades is what I look at, and I thought they had the best team to do so, and they did not get it done.
All right, the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to talk about them. Opening day right around the corner. What are some bold predictions for the season?
1972 wildcard game, and the Cubs win the division. I think we're going to see a lot of streakiness, has been the theme of Pittsburgh sports. And I know, Collin, you're ready to jump on this because you have a really bold prediction. I think McCutcheon's going to be your typical, but I see Ryan Vogelsong and Jeff Locke stepping up their games this season. Yeah, give me that look, but we've seen Locke be extremely good, and then we see him be extremely bad. I think he's going to get rid of his race years. He's going to work with him, has been working with him, and I think Locke's going to help us in the rotation.
Locke doesn't have anything. He needs yet to prove that he has anything.
And he will get that because he is in the rotation.
Neese is an overpaid starter.
I don't care what you guys are saying. I know what's going to happen. It's going to be a 500 team going into the All-Star break, and then right after you're going to see Starling Marte shipped away somewhere. I'm telling you.
You say Marte. I think if they trade anybody, it's Polanco.
Are you kidding me? Polanco's so young, and we can get him for cheaper. We're already paying so much for Marte, and it goes up every year.
I'm seeing Marte.
But we need Marte.
You're going to see a player.
Polanco,
we need McCutcheon.
Oh yeah, we need
don't
McCutcheon.
need Marte.
But second, we need Marte in
But
the
if they're a
outfield.
500 team,
for
you
his
can't
arm.
afford a second.
Maybe not his hitting, but for his arm.
Think about what you're going to get from Marte compared to what you're going to get from Polanco. I know both are good, but Polanco's yet to prove himself. Marte has.
So just because he proved himself, we're going to trade him?
Yeah, because you can get more for
I
him.
think
That's how the
you
game
trade
works.
Polanco
If you're
to
at
bring
500,
another young guy that wants to prove who he is.
If you're at 500, like I said, they'd be in that division with the Cardinals and the Cubs. You're not
Who
looking.
do we
Yeah,
trade
you get to
for?
the
Who do we
deadline.
trade Marte for?
You're going to trade him for money. You're going to trade him for a guy that you can get next
Name a
to.
guy. Do you have any ideas who the
Minor
who you
leaguers,
think
players
they
to be
may-
named
minor
later.
league?
Exactly.
I think you go for another starter, left fielder.
I mean, you
from
can
another.
go for,
You go from a team that's already rolled out of the playoffs, and you go and you get a star player from another team.
I think the goal right there is just to get rid of Marte for money so they can.
So
and cash
typical pirate
considerations.
move, which
Very
is
true.
frustrating than ever. But
Very true.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up here. We're going to do a little bit of lightning round, some rapid questions here. Now it's going to be all RMU themed this time.
all RMU.
Starting with, who was the best ever RMU coach?
You know what? I have to go with Joe Walton. He has a stadium named after him. Just a great tenure at Robert Morris. I congratulate him, and I
He
think
was
that's
only
a
supposed to be
consistent-
here to start the program, and he became a legend. Only supposed to be here for a year or two, and he became an RMU legend.
Do you agree? Yeah?
Yeah.
Joe Walton?
Joe
No,
Walton.
no
Yeah,
Andy
Joe-
Toole
yeah,
this
Joe
time?
Walton.
No?
No Andy
All right.
Toole. No Andy Toole.
Next, best ever RMU athlete.
Athlete, I think I'm going to go Nico Brett. I mean, anytime you get drafted into the MLS out of Robert Morris, that's just a crazy accolade to have, and I have to
I
congratulate
go with
him.
Nico too. Led all NCAA in goals. That's crazy. Coming from an RMU program, but I think he's going to help RMU make it to the next step in the soccer program.
All right, let's see if we can get some controversy with the best ever RMU team.
Best team, 2010 men's basketball, who almost beat Villanova in overtime, lost 73-70. Also beat Quinnipiac that year in the NEC championship. Quinnipiac's only home loss that year. That's a great team for you.
Men's hockey this season, 9 seniors that all went pro.
All right.
Mic drop.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have left on tonight's show. Thank you all for watching, and tune in 2 weeks from now for some more sports talk in the Burgh.